66 million years ago, a rock the size of a city was falling toward Earth, 6 miles wide, moving at 45,000 miles per hour. And in a few seconds, it would change everything. But what if it missed? What if that single rock had been a few hours earlier, or a few hours later? Earth would have kept spinning. The asteroid would have sailed past into empty space, and the dinosaurs would have lived. So, what would our planet actually look like today? Let's start with what we know for certain. The Chicxulub impactor hit what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. It released energy equivalent to billions of nuclear bombs. The impact triggered mega tsunamis, global wildfires, and a years-long winter. Sunlight was blocked for months. Photosynthesis collapsed. Within a relatively short geological window, roughly 75% of all species on Earth went extinct. This is one of the 5 great mass extinctions in Earth's history, and it ended the 165 million year reign of the dinosaurs. Without that impact, none of this happens. So let's remove the asteroid entirely. No impact, no firestorm, no extinction event. The Cretaceous period simply continues. Dinosaurs were not in decline before the impact. Fossil evidence shows diverse, thriving ecosystems right up until the moment of impact. Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus, Ankylosaurus, all still expanding into new niches. There's no biological reason they couldn't have continued for millions more years. So the obvious question becomes, would dinosaurs still be here today? This is where paleontologists have to be careful. Evolution doesn't move toward a fixed endpoint. It responds to whatever pressures exist at the time. Continents were still drifting in the Cretaceous. India was an island heading toward Asia. The Atlantic Ocean was still widening. Climate was shifting gradually, even without the asteroid. So dinosaurs wouldn't have stayed exactly the same. They would have kept evolving, branching, adapting to a slowly changing world. Some paleontologists argue we'd likely see more bird-like dinosaurs. Feathered, intelligent, increasingly specialized. Many small theropods were already evolving in that direction. Larger dinosaurs may have continued growing into new ecological roles, filling niches we associate today with large mammals. Some researchers suggest a species like Troodon, already showing relatively large brain-to-body ratios, could have continued developing greater cognitive complexity. Not necessarily into anything human-like, but potentially into something far more intelligent than any dinosaur we know from the fossil record. And here's where it gets genuinely strange. If dinosaurs continued dominating Earth's land ecosystems, mammals likely would have stayed small. For 165 million years, mammals existed in the shadow of dinosaurs, mostly nocturnal, mostly the size of rodents. Squeezed into ecological niches dinosaurs didn't bother competing for. The extinction event is what opened the door for mammals to expand. Without that door opening, there's a real possibility mammals simply never get the opportunity to diversify, which means primates may never evolve, which means humans may never exist. Let that sink in for a moment. Every single human being who has ever lived, every civilization, every war, every invention, every piece of art, all of it may be downstream of one rock missing Earth by a few hours 66 million years ago. This is not a metaphor, this is a literal causal chain in deep time. Now let's talk about Earth's climate and geography. The Cretaceous period was significantly warmer than today. No polar ice caps. Sea levels were much higher. Lush vegetation extended much closer to the poles. If dinosaurs and that warm climate had simply continued, Earth's biosphere might still be locked into something closer to that hothouse state. Of course, continental drift, volcanic activity, and long-term carbon cycles would still be operating. Earth's climate never holds perfectly still, asteroid or not. But the specific trajectory toward today's ice ages and cooler climate may have looked completely different. There's also the question of biodiversity itself. Mass extinctions, as devastating as they are, tend to be followed by rapid diversification. Empty ecological niches get filled quickly once competition is removed. This is exactly what happened after the dinosaurs disappeared. Mammals exploded into thousands of new forms within just a few million years. Without that mass extinction, we might actually see less biodiversity in some respects. Dinosaurs, already successful and entrenched, may have continued suppressing the evolutionary experimentation that followed their disappearance. But here's an important caveat. The Chicxulub impact wasn't the only major event happening around that time. The Deccan Traps in modern-day India were undergoing massive volcanic eruptions, releasing enormous amounts of carbon dioxide and sulfur into the atmosphere. Some scientists argue this volcanism was already stressing global ecosystems before the asteroid even arrived. This means even without the impact, dinosaurs may have faced a slower, different kind of crisis. Not a sudden extinction, but a long, grinding environmental squeeze. So the most accurate answer isn't simply dinosaurs survive forever. It's more nuanced than that. Dinosaurs likely continue for millions of additional years, possibly tens of millions, but they still face ongoing volcanic stress, shifting continents, and changing climate. Evolution doesn't stop. It simply takes a different path than the one we know. Let's also consider Earth's overall trajectory of life. Mass extinctions act like resets in deep time. They clear out dominant species and allow entirely new evolutionary directions to emerge. Without the Chicxulub impact, that particular reset never happens, which means the next several geological periods could look almost unrecognizable compared to our actual history. No Paleocene mammal radiation as we know it. No primates climbing into the canopy of ancient forests. No early hominids walking upright on the African savanna. The entire timeline of life on Earth shifts onto a different branch. And this raises a deeper question about intelligence itself. Humans often assume our kind of intelligence was somehow inevitable. That evolution was always building towards something like us. But the fossil record doesn't support that. Intelligence evolved independently many times in different lineages. Octopuses, crows, dolphins, elephants all developed sophisticated cognition through completely different evolutionary paths. If dinosaurs had continued evolving for tens of millions more years, there's no guarantee they'd develop anything like human intelligence, but there's also no reason to assume they couldn't. Some scientists have speculated about what a dinosaur-dominated world might look like culturally if intelligence did emerge. Communication might rely more heavily on visual displays given what we know about dinosaur coloration and feather structures. Social structures might differ significantly from primate-based societies. This is speculative territory well beyond what fossils can directly tell us. But it's a useful thought experiment because it forces us to question how much of human civilization is really about being human, and how much of it was simply the accident of which species got the opportunity first. So here's where this leaves us. If that asteroid had missed Earth by just a few hours, dinosaurs likely continue dominating the planet for millions of additional years. Mammals stay small, marginal, mostly nocturnal. Primates may never get the evolutionary opportunity to emerge. And the specific chain of events leading to Homo sapiens almost certainly never happens. Earth's climate likely stays warmer for longer. Biodiversity may follow a completely different pattern than the one we see today, and whatever intelligence eventually arose on this planet, if it arose at all, would look nothing like us. There would be no cities, no written history, no telescopes pointed at the stars asking what's out there. Not because intelligence is impossible without humans, but because the specific evolutionary path that produced us would never have opened. A 165 million year dynasty would have simply continued, adapting, branching, surviving, while the small mammals that would eventually become us stayed hidden in the shadows, waiting for an opportunity that, in this version of history, never comes. And that's the strange truth hiding inside this thought experiment. We don't exist because evolution was building toward us. We exist because a 6-mile wide rock happened to hit Earth at exactly the wrong moment for the dinosaurs, and exactly the right moment for everything that came after. Every human achievement traces back to that single, random celestial event. Move it a few hours in either direction, and this video, this channel, and the species capable of watching it never come to exist at all. So here's the question worth sitting with. If our entire existence depends on one asteroid missing by hours instead of hitting, how many other moments in deep time were just as fragile? How many almost different histories were one small variable away from happening instead of ours? What do you think Earth would actually look like today if the dinosaurs had survived?